I don't usually do it in videos, but I often complain about electricians. Not that I know much about being an electrician, not that I have the professional qualifications, but what is the purpose of this light switch 2 feet off of the ground? Is this a children's light switch? What is the look at how far up you have to go to hit ceiling, but look how little you have to go to hit floor. I don't know what this is. It's like knee height for me. And then there's a light, an outlet and a broken phone jack, but I don't know what this does. I've flicked it a couple times and it never seems to have any effect on anything. Part 2. All right, so this is this is above waist height for normal people, but this is a little bit above waist height for me. So there's an outlet, and another outlet, and another outlet, and another outlet. There are 4 outlets and a 5th faceplate on this wall. If I back up a bit, I don't know what purpose it serves. I don't know why there are so many outlets right there. And then there's 1 outlet in the bathroom, and it doesn't work. So I wanted to, I got this. So this is a steamer, and the steam comes out there, and it steams your clothes. And it's kind of like an iron, but you don't have to iron. You just pull on the bottom of your shirt and run the steamer up and down the shirt, and it gets the wrinkles out. But because there's no outlet in the bathroom, I can't plug it in the bathroom and hang my clothes on the clothes hanger. On the shower rod. And unfortunately also, all of the outlets are over here, but clothes are over here. And so I can't really hang it on the rack in the closet either. It's a pain in the butt. Oh no, you saw my knee and my foot, you jerks. So today, Sunday, I gotta remind myself what day it is. I had 4 interviews. 2 of them were, actually 3, all 4 of them today. The company contacted me. I say the company, all 4 of them today were actually schools of pharmacy. And all of them contacted me for an interview. The first interview was the one, my least favorite, I'll say offhand, because it's for an internal medicine program and not for an infectious disease specifically. It's at the University of Wyoming. They only have 52 students in their program, which is awesome because I went to a school with a class of 140, and I can't even tell you the names of some of the people in my class. Even though I spent, 3 years at school with them, I was on the opposite side of the classroom and never got a chance to meet them. When there's 50 people in your class, you really get to know the other people in your class. And what's really awesome is your professors get to know you too. So that was great, but the practice site is at a family medicine residency center. So that's medical, well, I say medical students. They're doctors, they're physicians, and they're doing family medicine. And family medicine is pediatrics, pregnant women, regular adults, kids, it's everything. And I work at the VA. We don't do much by way of pregnant women or any by way of children. So it's a slightly different practice setting, but the biggest issue for me was that it's internal medicine, and I've spent, this whole year learning infectious diseases. And so I wanted to put it to more explicit use. Now, they did tell me that most of the things that they help out with in internal medicine is, in fact, antibiotics, because that's something that I guess the family physicians don't get as much education on. Second program was Duquesne University, which is in Pittsburgh. It's a Catholic university. And in fact, the Spiritan Fathers, or also known as the Holy Ghost Fathers, that founded it back in the 1800s, it's actually the only Spiritan higher education school in the world. A lot of, if you hear of the Jesuits operate tons of universities, not just in the U.S., but all around the world. But the Spiritans only have Duquesne. The people at Duquesne, humongously friendly. That is one of the biggest things I like. I love to see how friendly it is and how well we kick it off. I went to school in Erie, Pennsylvania. They're in Pittsburgh. So we're right next to each other. So they were familiar with my school. I told them I was all familiar with the area. I talked about traveling all across the country for things. It seemed like we really hit it off, and I really like that program. I would be working at there's two main hospital systems in Pittsburgh. One is UPMC, or the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. They own a bunch of hospitals. And then a smaller one is Allegheny. One of my friends from pharmacy school is actually at Allegheny General doing their management residency program. And I met him today walking through the halls at the meeting. The third interview today was Rutgers. And the interesting thing about Rutgers, first of all, people mostly recognize the name Rutgers. But the second thing is, if you're in pharmacy, you know that Rutgers means industry and fellowship. A lot of the pharmaceutical industry, the pharmaceutical manufacturers and what have you in the United States are in New Jersey with Rutgers. So that's where a lot of the industry people, if you wanted to go work for a drug company as a scientist making drugs, or as a pharmacist, with this drug testing and all that, that's where Rutgers is the place you go. But the very first thing they told me when I sat down is that the faculty at Rutgers, clinical faculty, research is not required every year to keep your job. It's only required to get promotions. So that was highly unusual. And if you mention that to any pharmacist, particularly anyone who just graduated or is in pharmacy school for a couple of years, it'll blow their mind. My last job interview today was with the University of Louisiana at Monroe, who has an opening. And I really like that program. Interestingly enough, the hospital that they would put you at, I asked them, I'll back up one more second. In one of the pitfalls of interviewing for a position at a school of pharmacy is, for example, this school needs an ID pharmacist because their current ID pharmacist, I can't remember exactly what was the issue there, but let's say that I know for sure one of the pharmacists today was pregnant, and so was going to be leaving her job and staying at home and raising the kid, and so they needed a new ID pharmacist. But the funny thing is, the people that they have interviewing you at this meeting none of them is the ID pharmacist, because oftentimes the person has left and isn't available to do the interviews and pass on information. So I have a lot of specific questions about the practice site and what kinds of things they've done at the practice site and how the service was set up prior to me getting there. But they're not in the best position to answer that question. And so, like, twice today, I've ended an interview early because they asked me if I have any questions, and I have questions. They're just not the kind that they can answer for me. But the best part about that program, I say best part, is the hospital doesn't have an antimicrobial stewardship program. Apparently, the pharmacist was... apparently, at the hospital, they don't have a formal program, and it's kind of handled through formulary restriction and pharmacy and therapeutics committee restriction and protocols, and then kind of offhand by the ID consult service, which is the ID attending physician and the ID fellows and whatever medical residents and students are with the ID team, along with the pharmacist. The ID pharmacist would round with the ID team. And so the opportunity to start an antimicrobial stewardship program at a hospital, and that's a 400-bed hospital, which where I am now is a 200-bed hospital. So it'd be a bigger hospital. And so I couldn't use the exact same program I do now, but I could certainly set it up in a similar way. And I'd want to evaluate how their hospital's doing and figure out what their goals would be and, work that into the program. So I'm really interested in that. Tomorrow I have another 4 interviews. And Tuesday I have 6. The best story, and again, my camera cuts off at 10 minutes, so I have 30 seconds. I woke up this morning, and I got all dressed in my suit, and I panicked. My heart almost just stopped. I forgot my tie. Normally, I keep my suit, and I put the tie on the hanger with the shirt, so that hanger and the shirt and tie are always together. But when I pulled my suit out of the suit bag, which is over there, the tie was gone. But fortunately, when I went down to the lobby and asked at the desk, they had a tie and I was able to borrow it.